Automation and robotics are becoming a bigger part of the cleaning industry, but the real conversation goes far beyond the machines themselves. It's about labor shortages, consistency, data, and how cleaning operations are evolving in a more connected, technology-driven world. So today we're looking at how robotics is being integrated into cleaning operations and what that means for business owners, frontline workers, and the future of service delivery. And to do all this, I'm pleased to welcome Alexander File, who's with Fieldbots. Alexander, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
To get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
My name is Alexander. We're a family business. Originally, we started in Germany, in Stuttgart, in the south of Germany, because 15 years ago was like all about apps and clouds and how can we use it. And so we started developing these kinds of systems for frontline workers. Like, what do I have to do? How can I report back? How can I give feedback back to headquarters? How can I transport information from headquarters to the field? And so slowly we also got into robotics because there's a company very near to us. It's called Steel. Like you probably know Steel from Steel Timber Sports, like the chainsaw manufacturer. And they bought a mowing robot company, and we built the apps and cloud for them. And suddenly we ended up with 75,000 robots, and we thought like, for our original business, like facility management, building service, operations, this will be something we have to crack as well because there will be so many different moving parts here, and we're probably going to talk about this later on. So as Fieldbots, build a fleet management for all these cleaning robots from different brands and try to make it as easy as possible to get into this topic and to grow your fleet.
Well, Alexander, I've seen those little robots moving around lawns. I think I should get one.
Yeah, well, it's a good entry point, or a vacuuming cleaner or pool cleaner.
Sure.
So automation is slowly creeping into our houses anyway. So I think we should get familiar with what can we do as a, professional industry.
Yeah, and anything to get out of lawn work, that's always a plus. But let's talk about this, Alex. The cleaning industry has been discussing robotics for years. I don't know when it started. I know I've seen them at ISSA show, our conversations with you in the past, but adoption remains uneven, it seems. There's some challenges there. What do you see as the biggest barriers, and what's finally starting to change in your viewpoint?
Well, you're certainly right. A couple of years down the line, I said ISSA show was still in Chicago. We were talking about like, will robotics be a thing? Can it replace a human? Like, all these very basic questions. And people thought about like, getting into pilots. And I think that we already broke this strategic barrier. Instead of like, will it replace humans? It's more like, what can it do for us humans? So I think the discussion changes. Like now at ISSA shows in Las Vegas, you're getting other questions, and you have to find other answers to these questions. I think there are like certain barriers, like a business barrier, for example. Like now that you have these pilots running, how can I prove that it actually gives me the return on investment? So it's like cold numbers. Like we have so much data, but the more data you have, like how can you compile like US dollars out of it to really prove like this is a thing? An autonomous machine makes me actually some money. So that's a very cold business perspective. I think there are also like technical barriers, like you have to get these machines online. There are questions about data security. We have Chinese robots, for example. How do we want to handle them in North America or in Europe, for example? You have like elevators and doors, like, all these things you don't see at a trade show. It's a nice thing, roaming around, but then you think about security systems, CCTV cameras that might go off, like in case these devices move. And then, of course, like the most important thing is like, how do we embed this in our organizations? How can we train our people? What advantages are in there for us as professional cleaners?
Good viewpoint. I like that. Now, Alexander, earlier you mentioned I could buy a robot for my home, a vacuum. So you could start small. You could have one piece of equipment. But let's talk about going from the individual robot viewpoint to managing fleets. That's a that's a bigger picture. How does that change the way cleaning companies are run, and what new challenges would that introduce to them?
Well, mm, first, I think we have to learn how to sell autonomous cleaning because like everybody's used, okay, there's like time and material, and now you have like robot time and robot material, so to speak. And so I think we are truly there when we at least offer our customers, see, this is like the cleaning concept with manual labor, and this is the cleaning concept with manual labor, but some of the floor cleaning, because of you've mentioned it, labor shortage, or I really want to cover like the whole floor space every single time, every day of the week, I'll do with robots. So the moment we have this in our offers, in our quotes, in our concepts all the time, there is some parts we can automate, then I think we are there. But this means we have to think about how we approach our customers. What can we actually offer nowadays? How do we embed this in our sales strategy? Not as a hassle, like, sneak this in, but like as a serious part of our concepts. And then on the sales level, we're there. And then we have for sure the operational part, which means like, okay, how do we deploy these devices? It's just like with manual machines, they have to be brought on site, they have to be stored somewhere, they have to be maintained. We need the same competencies, the same know-how, the same logistics for robots as well. So there's a lot for us to understand and learn. And then operations, although these machines are running around autonomously, doesn't really mean they don't need attention. So we need people in the field that actually know how to handle these machines, how to, react to errors or some things that are not right yet. So we also have to, embed this in some sort of operational strategy here. And the more we get into robots, I think I can see this in Southeast Asia and Europe already. The more we realize that there are certain models that are great for a certain use case, and these models come from different manufacturers. So there's a lot of integration work here to combine the data, to harmonize it, to understand this data, to offer our people, our staff, like one app, one fleet management that actually allows us to run these mixed fleets with different robots in different scenarios.
It sounds like your work is not done anytime soon. You have plenty to do coming up in your future.
Definitely. Yeah.
Let's talk about as the phrase goes, the elephant in the room topic. A lot of people talk about, some are afraid, some believe, some don't, that robots will replace labor. But many in the industry say it's really about redefining labor. But what does that really mean? How should cleaning companies and facilities with employees think about the role of people alongside robots? You got into that a little bit, but can you get deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a concern like with every new tool, with every new technology, be it AI or physical AI. Our robots, by the way, they are some sort of physical AI because they have a lot of sensors and can move around. They well give us options. And usually these new options, when we roll them out, they have upsides and downsides. So we have to think as an industry, what can we get out of these machines, and how can we like deal with these consequences? We talked about like getting from pilots to real fleets and real automation cleaning concepts earlier. And what I notice is it needs a lot of people, it needs a lot of brains, it needs a lot of people on the ground actually making sure these machines run. So when we talk about successful robot deployments, it never has been, can a robot replace a human? We're not there yet. We can see it with humanoids. They are, they're working on it, but it needs like years and years and years to make them really smart and, to give them like this conceptual ideas about the world around them that when we are talking about something relatively easy, like a floor cleaning robot, it's just a tool. So if we think about like this tool, just like picture somebody, I don't know, a couple of decades ago thinking about like, why do I need a cleaning machine? I can use a mop or I can, just sweep the thing. I don't need a machine. And then we probably talked about like, does it really need like batteries? Batteries, they are not powerful enough. Is this advantage really so big with the cord? So I see it more like, okay, these machines now in certain scenarios can move autonomously. And let's think about what can we do with it. So I've never seen a successful fleet without people running it. I don't think cleaning the floor especially is what defines our industry. It's really about, thinking in terms of like cleaning concepts, making sure people stay healthy, they feel comfortable in these environments. And having the floor clean is one of these things. And if we can make sure that these floors are clean every single hour, every single day, and this is done by robots, we're gonna like manage as humans, then I think it's a great tool. But this also means it's an opportunity to somehow upskill. We talked about robots, and you talked about your small robots in the garden. We are also having like these big machines from, let's name a US manufacturer, Tenant, for example. They're famous for their big autonomous machines. Um, but especially in these scenarios where there's a lot of, I don't know, vacuuming of meeting rooms, of hotel rooms, in schools and universities, patient-facing waiting rooms, these kinds of things, the robots are relatively small. So I do believe that our people on the ground, they can actually manage these robots in a day-to-day operation. So I think there's a big opportunity here, besides having like the overall cleaning concept in mind and focusing on the areas that robots can't clean right now, to actually embed these robots into these people's daily work lives. And this means like there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to improve on, but it's also, I think, a great opportunity because picture you have a Roomba at home or like a Xiaomi Roborock. It's not so far away from these devices. And I don't think in this category of this size, they're really scary any longer. They're not the smartest things, in the room. So teaching people how to use it, or people like no longer feeling like this barrier because they see like, oh, this is just like an iRobot Roomba. I'll try it, I can certainly manage this in a professional environment as well, is a great opportunity here. And the third thing I hadn't really thought about, but we want to keep this industry attractive to people, to the younger generation. And I do know, it needs some convincing, and you have to get to know our community and see what's, behind like all this. It's just like a cleaning job. And I do think with robotics and AI and data and cloud, things get more complex, but also more attractive to future generations. Because literally, if you go into cleaning right now, and let's speak about like the next 5 years or 10 years, I can promise you there are a lot of people that are responsible for 100 robots, 200 robots, 500 robots, managing them. And I think this is attractive for the next generation to come for sure. And we will have so many sensors and so much knowledge about these buildings we can work with, like these cleaning on demand concepts, and like all this sensory data we can work with. And there's so much we can't even see right now. I think the next generations will unlock. And I'm happy to see that, people get younger at trade shows, these schools suddenly getting, interested. Usually you have like, the boys with just the hands in their pants trying to look cool and not really interested. And then you have like the girls that are shying back from, like being in public. But just recently, I did an interview, just like you're doing one with me right now. It's a German lady. She's in her late 20s, and she's responsible for 120 small vacuuming robots. That's just cool to show this generation and to show that's like females running these fleets as well. And so, yeah, it's a tool. I think it's an opportunity to learn how to deal with these tools. And it's for sure something the new generation is interested in. But of course, if we just if we're just stuck to like old concepts, if we, you know, just keep telling ourselves like this is not coming, it will never be open and never be able to open doors or run elevators, and the cleaning is not right, in the corners. Who cleans the corners every single day, as a human? If we just find arguments to not get into it, I think in 5 or 10 years' time, this might be a problem. So let's just see what we can do with it and what we can't, and use it to the best of what we can imagine for now.
You said a word earlier, humanoids, that they're not here yet. I think when we talk about robotics and autonomous equipment, we're mainly talking about vacuums. You said the word vacuum many times, correct?
And
Vacuum?
yeah, vacuums, scrubbers, at least floor cleaning,
Hmm.
indoor delivery. So these are the main use cases right now for these non-humanoids. Yes.
When humanoids get here, are you going to be involved with that?
Um, I'm playing around with everything that somewhat is a computer because I'm really interested in it. I got interested in phones at the moment, like they were so powerful as smartphones and you could build apps and clouds for it. Um, with humanoids, I think the really interesting question is, what will be commodity first? Like a humanoid that runs around and use our machines built for humans. The example would be, you have like a conventional mowing a mower, and this humanoid is pushing it. Or is it a commodity first that machines can navigate autonomously? And so another example would be, will it be a humanoid, driving your car? Or will it be your car that has the ability to drive by itself? So it's a really interesting race. I see the vision there, but just like with autonomous driving, we are not there yet. I do know, particularly in the US, there are like some big fans that say like, in 9 months' time, there will be, a humanoid ringing your doorbell, fixing your sink or something like this, downloading new skills. I can see the vision. But on the other hand, just like with electric motors before, nowadays you have like, I don't know, a couple of dozens electric motors in your car, like, for windows up and down and, windshield wipers and everything. And then sensors became a commodity. Like you have like all these sensors nowadays in your house, in your computer, in your phone, in your car, wherever. So maybe this sort of AI and autonomous navigation skills become commodity as well. And we just expect everything to move and expect everything to think. And humanoid robots might just be like one part of this ecosystem.
So I totally agree with all that. And I think humanoids, once they get here, maybe many years off in the future to be effective. Because when I see these pictures of these humanoids from trade shows, I wonder how long it's going to take before, Alexander, you say to that humanoid, go clean the restroom. And it goes in, it empties the trash, washes the glass, cleans the toilets, urinals, and does everything a person just knows what to do. Do you see that as a possibility?
Not in the near future. Even like if you go like one step back and say like a robot on wheels, that's not a humanoid, that opens the door, gets in, doesn't know the room, has never seen the room before. That's a very, very important thing. Like when you go to trade shows, you have like some impressive robotic arms and they, start disinfecting the room and everything. But these machines are still programmed. They got a scan of the room, they got told what to do. It's a bit like, do you remember the Mechanical Turk where somebody told others like he built a machine and that plays chess and in reality was somebody underneath the table playing, and it was a good player, by the way. It feels a bit like this. I think we need this, to push the frontiers. And there's also like some new announcements coming up for Interclean in Amsterdam. So like conventional cleaning robot manufacturers entering like this scenario, but we needed like 15 years to figure out how to just clean floors. We will probably need another 10 years, not if not 15 years to learn how to, at least behave properly in these washrooms. So we have time, but I think we should use it and then just make the best out of it like we always did in the past.
Agreed. And not being a Debbie Downer here, I see that vision. I see the floors as the focus right now, and it's really working. So, and it's exciting to see that that's within our grasp to really maximize everything you're doing. But speaking about that, let's close our topic today, Alexander. As a valued member of ISSA, what can Fieldbots do for the industry? Talk about that.
Whatever you think works for you personally in your customers' environments, for the use cases you're facing, we want to enable you to use. So if you have like a certain scrubber in mind, like a robotic scrubber or a vacuum or something, we're gonna make sure that we pull all the data in, give you proper fleet management. So you just plug in whatever manufacturer is successful today and might be successful in future. We make sure they're well connected and that you and your team can just manage your fleet and, track the ROI, have like the service delivery reports, maybe calculate the environmental impact on the fly for you. So you have like everything to justify fleet growth, be sure you're actually making money, helping your team in the field to manage these robots. So that's what we can do to make sure that cleaning stays in the hands of like all these owner-run companies, all these mid-sized companies all over the world, and especially in the US, and that we can just use and continue to use the tools we want to use.
Now, what you folks do is how unique is this to the industry?
Every manufacturer has a fleet management. What makes it really unique is that we have like 10 manufacturers integrated right now. So like whatever you choose right now, you can just add it to your Fieldbots fleet. I think that's really unique. The second thing is we build this software not as engineers. We're like in the industry and the cleaning and running and operating buildings segment for 15 years. So we built this software for us. So proof of service delivery, ROI calculations, these kinds of things. So we're not so machine centric with like all these parameters and like all this technical stuff. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, while others are talking about, this abstract AI and humanoids, we built some really smart features right into the software. So for example, you can just benchmark your machine against the industry-wide performance of the same model. You can just see, does this perform well? Am I, within like what the industry is able to squeeze out of this machine right now? Or is there like still potential? And we're able to give you like an idea on like what to work on. If there's a new firmware available, we've seen somewhere floating around in the world deployment of your model. So we, as a third thing, try to build as much intelligence into the software that you can focus on, manage your fleet and make it grow.
Well, Alexander, great conversation. I appreciate your
Thank you
time.
so
I'll see you
much.
at another trade show one day.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much, Jeff. See you soon.